I'm the golden one for a reason. So I'm going to make sure I keep my belts by any means necessary.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling network on the planet.
Bonjour, you're watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad, and today we have an amazing show, and of course, nothing but amazing guests. She is the FEW Women's Champion and the Bayou Independent Women's Champion, the Golden One. Please welcome Cassandra Golden. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm good. So for folks who don't know, Cassandra's part of the ACW crew. So we just came back from Jamaica. We're actually roommates, and I'm gonna I love airing stuff that people don't know. Every time I came in the room, because we were roommates, you was always sleeping, or I was always working. So it was a beautiful dynamic. This is not even a complaining thing. You are by far the best, I guess, hotel roommate I've ever had. So thank you.
No problem at all. I'm always sleeping. I'm so tired all the time.
Well, I mean, it's tired being the champ.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm like always going to bed early and
the work is real. So before we get into the wrestling part, what does Ms. Golden like to do for fun?
What I like to do for fun is I play The Sims. I love The Sims.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think wrestling training is fun. I go to that about twice a week. That's pretty fun. So that's pretty much. And I read. I'm trying to get into like reading. I need to get into some more like fiction books. I read a lot more like self-help books, but I'm trying to get into reading a lot more too.
Okay. And so when I first met you in Philly, and I'm sure I'm assuming you get this a lot. You know, you're always smiling, very great personality. What makes you upset?
Ooh, I think this is gonna sound like maybe cheesy, but people just being like mean in general, especially people just being mean in general. I feel like I'm a nice person, so I don't feel like anybody has a reason to be mean or rude to me. So like that's kind of like upsetting to me.
Okay. And so what happens if they are? Do you see the dark side?
I won't say a dark side. My friends will call me Sassy Cassie.
Okay.
She's so Sassy Cassie.
Okay. I like it. So let's get into the wrestling part. So I definitely met you through ACW, All Caribbean Wrestling. So tell me about your journey as far as being the FEW champion, working with All Caribbean Wrestling, and getting to travel to all these amazing places.
It's wild, really. It really is. I kind of started with FEW whenever we did the Say It Loud in 2021. That was my first time really working with everyone, and it was a great experience then. So then I was like, well, I kind of worked my way onto like other shows, and then we had a show in Miami, and then we eventually did the international trips to Jamaica, to Kingston, and I don't know. I never would have imagined me ever working in Jamaica. And it's so cool just to like think about like wrestling. Like ACW just brought me all these different opportunities, like places that I never thought I'd wrestle. I feel like you hear people wrestle in like Japan and Mexico and in Europe, definitely places that I want to wrestle. But like you don't ever hear anybody wrestling in like Jamaica. You don't hear anybody wrestling in the Bahamas. So it's really cool, and I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, let's talk about that because Bahamas was my first trip with ACW. But like, let's talk about that Bahamas because the crowd there was crazy. And we will be going back in a couple of weeks. So like, what were you surprised about, or what were you surprised about the last trip? And is there something you're excited about for this trip?
Honestly, the crowd, we were packed in there. I think we had to turn people away. And like the ballroom, it was like a smaller room. We had to pack people in there like sardines and turn people away. And now this time we have a bigger room. I'm just so excited to see like how many people are going to show up. Are they still going to be as rowdy too? As they were the first time? We had people throwing chairs and all this crazy stuff. So I'm excited just to see, like, what kind of spice we're going to have this time, too.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy trip, and I can't wait to check it out. But your journey in wrestling has been quite interesting. So you got started between because of your dad and your sister. So now you're a champion. What is the fight family dynamic like? What do they think of your wrestling career thus far?
I think everybody thinks it's really cool. I think everybody was really surprised whenever I first started because my personality, you wouldn't think wrestler for me because I'm pretty quiet. Like I'm pretty quiet. I'm still a little bit shy, so my family was like, "You doing what?" But now, like, they're like, oh, I think they still think it's so cool. Like, whenever I have a show like near, they'll always try to come out and see me and support me, always buying my merch. It's really cool. I think that they think that it's shocking and surprising coming from me, but they're really proud of me for sticking with it because they know how much I love it.
And yeah, it is not necessarily surprising, but like I said, when I saw you in Philly, I'm like, okay. But now, even just seeing your progression as your character at ACW, I don't know if you can even talk about it. Maybe you could tease it a little bit because what I saw in Jamaica, like I'm really excited to see what happens in the Bahamas. So, can you talk about like the development of your character? I don't know if you can I don't know if that's like a wrestler's trade secrets, but like kind of how you progressed to where you are, the FEW champion, and beating the brakes off of people.
So yeah, I think my evolution in my character has been really interesting because it's the opposite of me, pretty much. Um, but I think it's still really cool too that you can just see all these different dynamics of people. I think in the Bahamas, it's me and Amira, so I'm really excited about that. Me and Maya had a really good match, and then so did Mia and I. So that was when I first like made that switch and I made that
Mm-hmm.
turn. And sometimes I think it's if you've been doing something one way, you need to flip a switch and change it up just to show that people that I am a threat. I am the champion for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think it's time for people to see that.
Okay. And your relationship with the Don. So for people who have no idea what I'm talking about, if you go on ACW social media, I think you're also reposting on yours. The Don is managing you, or can you break down what's going on with that?
That's still developing right now. I know he presented me with some beautiful golden shoes, but I had to accept that because I'm the golden one. I gotta take the golden shoes with it. But he's definitely somebody interesting to have in my corner. He already has a great team with Rios and now Tito. So we'll see. We'll see where the golden one fits in there.
And now, like when you got started, you trained with QT Marshall and Lance Storm. So
Mhm.
kind of looking back at oftentimes when we have like teachers, trainers, coaches, there's like advice that they give us that sometimes it just sticks, and it's kind of like it becomes like that building block to how you develop. So is there any like advice or training that you got for either one of those guys that you kind of use today?
I think what's really important, I think, for both of them is that they are both very sticklers about fundamentals and foundation. Because like Lance Storm, he's very technical. QT is also
Mhm.
really good. So I think just trying to make sure that I think about placement, even like story and psychology as well is another really big thing that I learned from them. Just making sure that it makes sense, because I don't think either one of them do like huge like moves and things like that, just making sure that things make sense. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't either. I don't do these huge moves, but I do try to make sure that my matches like they make sense without having to do like a whole bunch of craziness. Because
Yeah, the
I could do a whole bunch of craziness if I tried. Not without breaking my neck.
but just kind of like watching your matches, like they make sense. You tell the story with the ring, which is an amazing thing that wrestlers who get it are able to do. Like within that ring, you tell a whole story without saying a word. Like a skill in itself. And I personally can say that you've done that time and time again since I've been watching you.
Thank you.
So kudos to that with that. But kind of thinking of like almost like your greatest hits, like who have you had a match with that, like when you think of like your all-time matches or your top 2 or 3 matches, which ones do you think about?
Oh, this is hard. This is one that I had with, her name is Erica Torres. This was back in April. This was at my high school,
Okay.
in Arkansas. So that was really cool, a cool moment too. That was like one of my favorite like matches, like in the moment, but it wasn't recorded, and I'm like sick about it.
I hate that.
It's so good. Yeah, and I really liked my match with Maya too. I thought that was good. And you were there. It was different.
Mhm.
As far as like workarounds and things, but I really enjoyed that match too. And there was another one also at my high school. Her name was Cameron Brene. She used to wrestle for NXT actually. We
Okay.
had a match a while ago, and that was a lot of fun too.
Okay. I like it. I like it. So now we have different challenges and stuff and obstacles, especially as athletes. But as a wrestler, it seems like there's so many different levels to it. Like you know, work on your personality, the athletics of it all that stuff. Is there any obstacles that you've experienced in your wrestling career that you know you kind of want to share? Like, okay, this was an issue or an obstacle, and I've gotten over it.
Um, I would say just this is gonna sound really weird, but like, well, it might not. Like me kind of just getting over like my own like insecurities. I think just as like a normal woman, or a
Mhm.
normal person, like I'm just around like all these different types of people, different looks, different like shapes. I think you just have to really be secure in yourself, and I think that's something that I really had to overcome, because like I said, I'm very shy and very like introverted and things like that, so that's something that I had to kind of get over myself, and just being confident in myself, I think is what I'm trying to say. Try to really gain that confidence in myself, in my abilities and in my character. I think that's something that I really had to grow into, and I mean I'm still working on it, but I think I've come away.
How do
From
you develop? What did you say last? Sorry.
so I think I'm come away from where I was, but I'm still working on it.
And like, how do you go about developing your character? Like, are there like a trusted like golden counsel, or is each promotion different? Like who you talk to and they give you suggestions, or how do you build your character that way?
So yeah, I would say my character pretty much is kind of the same, depending on like where I'm going or wherever I go.
Hmm.
It's pretty similar. It's hard to describe because I feel like it's just me normally, except at
Hmm.
like ACW and other places. It's kind of just me, kind of like turned up a little bit. I'm still like a good guy. I'm smiley. I'm happy. I'm powerful until you keep pushing me, and then we do the whole thing. So I would say that's kind of like just me, but I would say that it develops and it changes depending on the story, the place I am, like and who
Hmm.
I'm wrestling.
Yeah. And like women's wrestling has like developed over the last couple of years. Like you're seeing so much of it and they're being highlighted. I mean, even with like for instance ACW, you had like 5 matches. This last one when we went to Kingston. So what do you hope, is there anything that you're hoping for? Sorry, y'all, my dog, she just wants to be involved. Is there anything that you're hoping for as far as your career, and then women's wrestling in general?
Wow, I think right now, I don't think, like you said, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a women's wrestler than right now. I'm so grateful to be in the position that I am, and come up in the time that I did. So I'm very thankful for that. I can really just hope that we keep on growing. Places like ACW is so different than other places, as to where, like you said, there were 5 women's matches on the last show. Normally, I'm the only women's match on
Mhm.
the card. So I'm hoping for more places like ACW to where we can have more than just that one women's match. That's typically going to be for the title, because we can do storylines too, and we can do, we can have tag matches, triple threats, things like that, not just the one match. So and that's what I'm hoping for, is just keep growing and developing, just everywhere.
And then for those who are not familiar, tell us about the Bayou Independent Wrestling and you being champion over there.
Oh, it's great so far. I love wrestling over at Bayou Independent Wrestling. I started there. I had my first, I want to say within my first 3 years or so, I wrestled over there. So some of those people have seen me since the beginning. And you can tell I love wrestling over there because they have seen me for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of watch me flourish and watch me grow. And I remember they told me, or they showed me these pictures. I'm like, oh man, that was a long time ago. So it's really cool just to see that people are still coming. They have one
Mm-hmm.
of the most loyal fan bases I think I have ever seen, because
Oh,
they have
nice.
shows
Okay.
in Arkansas and Louisiana, Mississippi, and we just see people just travel to different states, hours away, just to like see these people. And that's one thing that they do really well there, is like these long-term storylines, because you can really get invested, and
Right.
people care. People really do care about those stories and not just the big moves.
So how many months or years have you been the women's champion for both promotions?
So actually, I want to say it's been a year almost for Flares, because I just saw it pop up on my memories. I want to say last week. So it's been about a year for Flares Championship at
Okay.
AEW. And for Bayou, I want to say I won it in January.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've had these for a little bit.
Okay. All right. All right. The snaps for the multiple championships. I like it. And so how do you, so again, as an independent wrestler, right? So you're with two promotions. What's your recommendation or advice to newer wrestlers? Do you wrestle with as many promotions as you can, or do you select promotions that kind of work with your personality or your schedule, whatever, and you kind of stick to those to build the long storylines? What's been your process and what makes sense?
Whenever I first started, I definitely took whatever I could get and whatever came my way. I would just try to get as many reps in as I could. So that's what I do recommend whenever you're first starting out, just to get as many reps as you can. And as I've kind of gone along, I am a little bit more selective on where I want to go and places that I feel are a better fit for me. But whenever
Mhm.
that's something that I do recommend whenever you get started, just get those reps in, because you can work with all different types of people, and that's really how you learn.
Okay. And then, so like in wrestling psychology, it like plays a crucial role. So how do you prepare for a match in terms of like storytelling and engaging with the audience? So for instance, like, we're going back to the Bahamas, let's say we're getting the same type of audience that we got before. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen as far as your match and stuff like that, but I'm sure there's been discussions. How do you prepare for your next opponent, the story that's happening, etc.?
Yeah, I think we kind of have to see. We have an advantage there this time than other places, as this isn't our first time there. So we kind of
Mm-hmm.
know like what the crowd is, what they would like. So I think that helps part of it too. And I think I would just look at my opponent just to see the type of wrestler that they are, and how that would work with me, and how we would do that.
Okay. And so when you think about your legacy, what do you hope people remember most about your career? Obviously, you're not finishing anytime soon, but in general.
Wow. Fans, or just like in general, or
Um, I'd say we could do both, fans and in general.
in general? In general, I would hope that at least people that I work with would think of me as someone that is kind, that is always trying to take care of them, trying to take care of me, uh, take care of myself as well, and someone that's just overall easy to work with. Um, and for fans, I would like to leave a legacy of just having a good time, just being a good wrestler. That's something that I really, really want to do. Is I really kind of want to continue to get my name out there, just so I can be known as one of the best, at least like one of the best indie wrestlers or female indie wrestlers. So I think that's something that I'm working towards, or I would like to happen in the future as far as like my legacy.
And then, I mean, you have a business degree, which is like, I don't even say it's like a backup plan, because it's not. But you could do both, and I think also knowing about business is helpful within any industry, because with an independent scene, you have merch, you have this, you kind of think of things a little bit different. But what is the ultimate goal, I guess, for yourself and wrestling wise, or if they're intertwined?
The ultimate goal for myself, it's kind of intertwined. If I could just make a living from wrestling, I think that would make me happy. I love wrestling, and if I could just work just strictly from wrestling, or if I could just keep wrestling for as long as I can, that would make me happy too. I mean, I don't hate my regular job or anything like that, so I mean, I can keep that while I wrestle. So I think that's my end goal. I mean, I think everybody has their aspirations to make it somewhere, make a contract somewhere. But I feel like as long as if I could make wrestling like my main like income, I think that would be my top goal for me.
And then as far as, I mean, you've been around for a while, you've had some great matches with different folks. Are there folks that you want to have matches with that you haven't had matches with? And then follow-up question, do you want to do intergender matches as well?
Yes. I really would love to wrestle. I think Ruthie J is really good. I would love to wrestle her. I would also love to wrestle. I wrestled Kylan King before. I would love to wrestle her again, though. I think she's really good. And Aminata, Queen Aminata, is somebody that I really wanted to wrestle. I thought that would be really good. So that's three ladies that I know I would definitely would love to wrestle one day.
Yeah.
She's
you really and Queen Aminata, that would be insane. That I just see very brutal chops and things that, when, I'm sure, when you watch a match and it's going on, but you feel like the bruises yourself coming, like that's why I feel like that match would be like, oh, like that hurt. Like that's
definitely.
I feel like it's gonna be a whole situation.
I think so too. And I think I'm ready for the challenge. Who we gotta talk to for that? I gotta see.
There's somebody.
Yeah, there is somebody.
What about your intergender matches? Would you like to do that too? And so with who?
I would. I enjoy intergender matches. I've had a couple before, and they were always really fun. I have a funny story about, I was in Memphis, and we actually Memphis Championship Wrestling, and they actually do some intergender over there, and there was an intergender tag match, and like the guy was giving me 10. Well, we were kind of both baby faces or good guys, so the guy was giving me like the 10 punches in the corner, and the crowd was like. Why is he punching her? So it's kind of like intergender matches is it's funny in some ways, because you just don't know how the crowd is going to react. And I think because they liked me so much, they're like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It was kind of like an awkward, like, why is this? Are we supposed to cheer? What are we supposed to do with this?
Never getting punched in the head. It kind of got quiet. You just like never know like how a crowd's gonna react to it. So yeah, I would definitely love to do some intergender wrestling.
Okay. And so would you say your ultimate goal, because I find the answers are changing. At one point, because Women's Wrestling Talk, we started in 2017, everybody that we interviewed, like the goal was to get to WWE. And now as we're in 2024, folks are like, I just want to be able, like you said, to, make a career wrestling. And that could look like, being with one or two promotions. And because you built the name for yourself, you're getting paid really well. Or, some people are like, no, my goal is to get to WWE or AEW or a promotion where, instead of driving I don't know, this X car, you're making so much money that you can drive this car or live this place. So like, what's the as far as in terms of goals, is that one of those things, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think I would love to have a contract. Like I said, I think a lot of people would, but like you were saying, it's kind of changing because there's so many other avenues that you can go down, like NWA, like MLW, uh, TNA. So there's just so many different like avenues you can go down other than just WWE. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that is while that would be a top goal for me for sure, is as long as I feel like I can make a living from it, I think I would be okay with anything. I just really want to wrestle.
And then when you think of wrestling, like your most memorable moment as far as wrestling, like what comes to mind?
Ooh, most memorable moment. I feel like one would have to be, I think, winning the Flares in Jamaica was huge for me. I thought that was a really cool moment. Like the whole trip itself was amazing. I think that might be my favorite trip so far. Um,
Okay.
we went to Montego, so that was Montego Bay, and that was really cool. Um, it was a really cool experience. And another one would have to be anytime I get to wrestle at my high school, just to see people from my high school, my old teachers, just be shocked and surprised that I'm out there doing
Yeah,
it.
what's that like? So you go, you're back at the high school, you're doing this, and like you see a high school teacher. Like, what do they say to you?
They were shocked and surprised. I remember on Facebook, someone's like, "Is that my sweet Cassandra?" I was just like, "Yeah, it's me." So it's really funny and it's really cool because I was like, "Oh my gosh, let's take pictures, let's do this, let's do that," and it's just like you would have never you would that's something you would have never thought for me in high school or when I was in
Mhm.
school. So it's just really cool just to see people's reactions, and it's really fun. It's really funny more than anything, I think. At least to me, it's
It's like
funny.
they never knew that I can beat the
Right.
brakes off of people very easily.
Exactly.
But so we're rounding the corner to the end of 2024, which is absolutely crazy.
It's nuts.
What are your hopes as far as like wrestling? Are there any shows that people can look out for? What's all that stuff look like
Yeah, so what we're doing now is we of course have that show in Jamaica. Um, that was coming up
in
on the
Bahamas?
19th. Yes. Jamaica, sorry. In the Bahamas on the 19th of October. And then I also have a couple of BIW or Bayou Independent Wrestling dates for the rest of the year, too. And I know I have some in Texas. I have one in Dallas, Texas in December as well. So I have some things coming up. I moved to Arkansas, so I am looking for some shows over near here. So that's exciting too. I'm excited to kind of fill out the rest of my year over with some shows near me.
Okay. And then how do you plan? Last question: how do you plan on maintaining the championship at both promotions, not just one, at both? Because people have to be gunning for you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the golden one for a reason. So I'm gonna make sure I keep my belts by any means necessary. You
Oh,
know, I had
okay.
to do that twist. I had to do that change. So you just never know. You just never know what's gonna come from me. So
Yeah. When I tell you all, I think you did. I think it was with Mia, and you hear with this chop that I think it pushed her back on the floor to the end to the edge of the ring. I was just like, I thought I thought she was a baby face. There's
you never
not baby face qualities right happening right now. But I absolutely loved it. Like I said, it was really telling a story.
Mhm.
So I definitely can't wait for other folks to check it out. Once it hits YouTube, I'm sure they'll post it all over. But yeah, kudos to that. I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen in the Bahamas. But yeah, like thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. Um, and yeah, I look forward to all the storytelling that you're gonna, because this character is developing. It's a nice slow burn, and I like it.
Definitely a slow burn. Lots more to come for sure.
All right, there it is. So for people who are not following you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram _Cassandra Golden _ on Twitter, Cassandra Golden, and on Facebook, Cassandra Golden. I'm real easy. I don't have nothing crazy.
Same here. You guys can follow me everywhere at TK Trinidad. You can follow Women's Wrestling Talk everywhere at www.talkpod.com. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for joining us. Thank you guys for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.